Jaime Lannister. Hey guys, Argent Templar here with the last of the Lannister children, kind of the black sheep of the family, I suppose you could say, Jaime Lannister. Now he's one of my favorite characters in the show and the books. I really like Jaime. I like that he kind of shows a lot of character growth and a lot of depth. He kind of goes from just being an unrepentant asshole to kind of trying to be a good guy. I kind of view Jaime and all the Lannisters are to some extent a nature versus nurture question. Would they have turned out the way they would have turned out under different circumstances? If Tyrion had have had Tysha's love, if his father would have accepted his marriage, would Tyrion have become a confident and decisive lord? Would Tyrion have led House Lannister into a new age of glory? Would Cersei, if she had married Rhaegar or married someone who wasn't such a douche, would she have turned out better? Would she have been less of an evil bitch? Would she have been less of a paranoid alcoholic? And Jaime's another example, because I don't think Jaime at his core is a bad guy. I think he comes from a rough family who doesn't really understand him, and he's surrounded by people who are basically douches. And I get the impression that at his core, Jaime Lannister is a very romantic, kind of gentle soul. And I think that Janna, or however you pronounce her name, says that to him, that he's his mother's son, that he is more kindly, that he is more kind of soft, and that he really has no resemblance to his father, despite the fact that he looks like his father, and his father's obsessed with him being his heir. Out of the three children, he's the one least qualified, and the least like his father. He just kind of looks like him. He doesn't have any personality or talents like him. So yeah, that's Jaime Lannister. What would have happened if he had have grown up in a better family? He kind of reminds me a bit of Ned Stark. Um, Both are kind of, to some extent, beta males. Jaime Lannister's, I'm not saying he's not a man's man. Once again, when I say Ned Stark's a beta, I just mean he doesn't want to be, he's not good at being the grand leader of everything, of being the master planner. I'm not saying he's not manly. I'm not saying he's not a man's man, because he clearly is. And Jaime clearly is too. I'm not questioning their masculinity. I'm just saying they're not built to seek power at all costs and to be the alpha dog. That's not really what they care about. And I think Jaime would readily admit, I don't want to, that he doesn't want to lead. I get the impression they are fairly similar. Jaime does care deeply about honor. Jaime does care deeply, is kind of a romantic and is a bit of an idealist, I think, at heart. But the traumas of his life and just being around Cersei and his father have corrupted him and made him a cynical, depressed shell of his former self. He loves Tyrion because Tyrion has a natural compassion, and Tyrion's really the only positive influence in his life. Tyrion is an extremely flawed man, but he has something resembling a moral compass. He may be a whoring, wenching drunkard who has a foul mouth, but Tyrion's not an evil guy. He is disgusted when Janos Slynt kills a baby, for instance. He has some compassion for people like Bran who suffer. And I think Jaime does too. I think Jaime has buried who he is. I think he probably was an idealistic young knight who wanted to be chivalrous, who wanted to be honorable, who wanted to marry a princess and have all these adventures, but the traumatic events of Aerys naming him to the King's Guard, then finding out he was just a tool to get at his father, then being divided from his sister, who he believed that he loved, and who was kind of the alpha in their relationship, much like Kat is the alpha in their relationship. Being divided from her, having to serve King Aerys, and killing King Aerys and what he thought was a moral and good action, and then having Ned Stark smirk at him and being called the Kingslayer and being insulted by everybody in the realm, really did a number on him. It did a number on his self-esteem and self-image. You can't really blame him for that. My thoughts on it is Ned Stark is a hypocrite because he was waging a war to overthrow and kill Aerys, and Jaime did it for him, and Jaime's bad, but Ned's not bad for rebelling. So figure that one out. So Jaime Lannister, I think what happens with him is he's just become this kind of cynical shell of his former self. And when he meets Brienne, he meets someone who's kind of pure. Brienne has a pure heart and good intentions, and Jaime's so completely unused to it that it utterly shocks him, and he kind of feels shame for the first time in years. I think Brienne kind of influences him towards becoming a better person and a better man. And he kind of has this transformation throughout A Storm of Swords that you can really see in A Feast for Crows, where he realizes, seeing Brienne, he realizes how fucked up Cersei is. Because Brienne is a decent person. She's not perfect, but she's a decent, fairly pure-hearted person who wants to do the right and honorable thing. And it shames Jaime that this woman is doing what he himself cannot do. And he says, I'm going to live up to what Brienne does. I'm going to try and fulfill her dream because I don't have a dream anymore. So I can at least try to fulfill what Brienne wants to do because it's the right thing. And I'm going to do the right thing for the first time in years. And I think he enjoys it. And I think he enjoys trying to be a good guy and trying to come to trying to do the right thing to try and help people. And as time goes on, I think his time away from Cersei is kind of like a drug addict being off a drug. He went into withdrawal, but then when he came back, he realized how much of a just a whore Cersei was, and how bad she was for him, and how she had played him like a fiddle and manipulated him, and how Cersei wasn't really capable of loving anyone. Because I think Jaime truly loved Cersei. I think that she was the love of his life, and that when Cersei betrayed him by by just having sex with everything that moved, I think it destroyed him as a person. I think it was one of the I think it just utterly wrecked him, and he realized that his entire life and his entire existence was one massive lie. And then he just decided, I'm going to live for Brienne's dream because everything I believed in and everything I thought was fake. And he doesn't really know how to react to his father's death, because his father and him had nothing in common, and yet he always kind of loved his father and always respected his father. So Jaime Lannister, I think, is basically a decent man who's born into a really fucked up family, and who just, because he lacks kind of the dominating sense of self, the alpha maleness of Tywin Lannister, he's just easy to manipulate and easy to corrupt, and he kind of falls into this whole bad negative way of thinking where he does shit like throw Bran off of the tower. But I don't think he's fundamentally an evil man, and I think he kind of realizes how much of a douche he is and makes amends, which makes him an interesting and complex character. And I think really, I don't know, it just makes him interesting. It makes him interesting, it makes him complicated, it makes him one of my favorite characters in Game of Thrones. I like Jaime Lannister. I think he's basically a decent guy, and I always enjoy his character, his wit, his banter. And I really thought that the relationship between him and Tyrion was very heartfelt and very I just liked it. I thought it was a good relationship, and I thought it was it really humanized both characters, and it was one of the few genuinely um, real, emotionally positive relationships in the show. Although once again that turned to poison, because ironically, as I've been saying, Jaime didn't stand up to his father, and because he didn't stand up to his father, He lost the only person in his life that he really loved, which was his brother. So that's my thoughts on the matter. This is Argent Templar, signing out.